Hey everybody, how's it going? Today, I'm proud to present to you a detailed, in-depth look at the 2013 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 convertible. And this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the ZL1. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clipping over the performance data, and show you much of the unique aspects of the interior as well as exterior. And I'd like to give a big thanks and special shout out to Flo Chevrolet at the GM Auto Plaza in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for allowing me to come out and film the very unique 2013 Chevy Camaro ZL1 convertible. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. It's the jet black exterior with a full jet black leather interior and suede microfiber accenting. Absolutely potent sound. Gotta love the sound of traditional American muscle. The Camaro ZL1 first made its debut in the 2012 model year, but for 2013 gets a few updates, as does the rest of the Camaro lineup, and also gains the optional convertible configuration. But when you compare the standard Camaro SS to the ZL1, it's a completely different animal altogether when you take in consideration the innovation and engineering that went into designing this vehicle. Around 30% of the parts for the ZL1 were designed specifically for the ZL1 to make it handle and perform like no other Camaro before it. And one of the first differences, the ZL1 actually comes standard with electrically assisted rack and pinion power steering that's able to detect the different forces between the front wheels and auto-adjust depending on the driving scenario and demand to give you the best handling possible on the front end. And as far as gearbox choices, there's two different ones available. One being the standard 6-speed Tremec manual gearbox with crisp, short throws, as well as a Hydromatic 6-speed 4L90 automatic gearbox with steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. For the manual gearbox, you put it all the way over and up, your backup camera appears, and the new navigation system. Also a first for Camaro. It's also unique to notice that the ZL1 has a unique shift housing to kind of replace the more chunky shift knob found in the standard Camaro and give a much more natural race feel, also accented in leather, chrome, and the red color contrast stitching. And before we begin, we'll go ahead and put the top down, just unlock it first, and then hit the button to automatically retract it back. And so we're going to flip on the automatic headlamps, fog lamps, as well as the hazards. All four windows are fully automatic, and we're going to check out the exterior, shall we? The Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 isn't just another high-performance variant of the newest generation Camaro. It's also a pretty historic nameplate. The original ZL1 was first produced in 1969 and limited to only 69 being produced. producing 430 horsepower through a big block 427 V8 and a sticker tag of just around $4,000, it nearly doubled the price of that Camaro. For the 2012 model year, Chevrolet reintroduced the famed ZL1 nameplate at the 2011 Chicago Auto Show, a ZL1 that represents the most powerful production Camaro ever produced. As I mentioned earlier, about 30% of the vehicle's parts are not shared with the standard SS. Its unique and highly modified styling is not only aggressive, but it's quite functional. The car was actually designed to slip through the wind and increase downforce with speed. Its handling was perfected at Germany's Nürburgring, where the ZL1 Coupe set a time of 7 minutes 41 seconds, which is impressive for any vehicle. Not to mention, it also has GM's second highest performing V8 derived from the Cadillac CTS-V, but there's a whole host of suspension upgrades as well to make it handle like no other Camaro before it. While it does take inspiration from the Cadillac V-Series, it also shares technology inspiration from the Corvette ZR1, including third-generation magnetic ride control system with twin-wire, dual-coil adjustable dampers for all four wheels, all paired to a fully independent suspension with McPherson struts in the front and a multi-link system in the rear. As far as wheels and tires, the ZL1 gets its own unique setup with 20-inch forged aluminum alloy wheels either finished in the semi-gloss black or polished aluminum, all wrapped in sticky Goodyear Eagle F1 race tires measuring 285/35 in front and 305/35 in the rear. Brakes have also been beefed up for the increased performance demands. The standard SS features 365mm discs with 4-piston Brembo brake calipers up front. The ZL1 comes with larger, internally ventilated 370mm discs with 6-piston calipers. Essentially think of the braking system as being derived from the Cadillac CTS-V, only with 2-piece rotors that are better able to handle even more abuse. Also, to enhance long-term life and prevent excess brake fade under track conditions, the front fascia has been specifically designed to funnel in air to further cool the brakes. It came as no surprise that the 5th generation Camaro would be offered as a convertible, but when the drop-top ZL1 was announced for 2013, it was met with some criticism, mainly being structural integrity and reduced capabilities with that high horsepower V8 and no roof. But what many people don't realize is that the Camaro was designed to be a convertible from the get-go, a concept we're familiar with the design of the 5th generation Corvette. Base Camaro convertibles have a plethora of chassis stiffening measures such as hydroformed steel tubes in the A-pillars, robust door hinge pillars, and a reinforced bracket in the windshield header. The ZL1 takes it a step further by replacing the front chassis V-brace for a beefed-up 4-point X-brace to reduce torsional flex, as well as redesigning the transmission support, adding an underbody tunnel brace, and stiffening the engine cradle. All the changes increase the weight by about 250 pounds, but for that you can enjoy open-air exhaust notes and still have great corner carving ability. The engine, transmission, and rear differential all come with their own standard lubricant coolers, and the transmission is further cooled by an NACA duct at the rear of the underbody panel. All of the body modifications, including the side skirts, front fascia, rear diffuser, spoiler, all work in harmony to either cool the vehicle or balance the lift and downforce for the vehicle to produce a net downforce at 150 miles per hour. As far as the unique carbon fiber hood vents, they're actually designed to do both. It draws more air into the engine and then shoots it over the windshield to flow across the vehicle, pushing it down at higher speeds. Out back, not much has changed aside from the cosmetic upgrades I mentioned earlier. The most impressive part though is the implementation of the Corvette's 2-stage quad-pipe exhaust system. It opens up at certain RPMs to increase the flow and create a menacing sound. Unlike the Corvette though, the vacuum assist flaps are open on the ZL1 at startup to allow for a deep growl from the get-go. The exhaust essentially allows for the 24 horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque gain over the Cadillac CTS-V. Overall length is 190.4 inches with a width of 75.5 inches and a height of 54.7 inches. Total curb weight is around 4,373 pounds. I'm gonna pop the hood. By far one of the more impressive aspects of the ZL1 is its power plant. Consistent of a supercharged and intercooled all-aluminum 6.2-liter LSA V8. With the 1.9-liter Eaton supercharger, it produces 580 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 556 pound-feet of torque at 4,200 RPM. 0 to 60 times are around 4.4 seconds for the convertible, and a quarter-mile time of 12.7 seconds at around 113 miles per hour. Top speed is governed at 161 miles per hour. The ZL1 Coupe is slightly faster by a few tenths of a second and has a higher governed top speed of 180 miles per hour. And with a fuel tank of 19 gallons requiring premium unleaded gas, expect the ZL1 to achieve a miles per gallon rating of around 14 city, 19 on the highway. The overall interior styling for the ZL1 is very similar to the standard Camaro SS, with just minute differing details and unique nuances, but overall it's the same simplistic, almost retro-futuristic styling that we saw in 2010 when the 5th generation was first introduced. Coming in across the doors, you have the ZL1's unique, high-gloss metallic black painted panels that wrap around to the dash, the Boston acoustic sound system, a little bit of storage, padded armrests with color accent stitching, and all of your power windows, power locks, and power mirrors. And one of the few interior improvements over the years was the addition of a leatherette material that comes across the dash and gives a little bit more of a high quality feeling. The ZL1, however, replaces that with a faux suede accent coming across in the red color contrast stitching. As far as the overall seat design, it doesn't differ in any way, shape, or form from the standard Camaro SS. They still have a nice amount of bolstering and reasonable padding and are really quite comfortable. All of your power adjustments are located down below, the faux suede and red color contrast stitching, and unique ZL1 logos mounted on the back. You also have ZL1 accented door sill plates, aluminum sport pedals, and a manual tilt telescoping steering wheel. So let's go and see how she sounds. Gotta love that wonderful pop-off. And we're going to put the top back up. Then pull the clasp, lock it in, and there you go. So we're going to shut her up. And now for the first time in Camaro history, the vehicle is now offered with an optional navigation system, more so Chevrolet's new MyLink system that first made its debut in the Chevy Spark. It has all the convenience and functionality of a typical navigation mobile media telemetrics interface, but it's also smartphone based in a way, so you can also link up your internet streaming radio such as Pandora and Stitcher and other apps of that nature. Also standard with XM satellite radio.
I know I've got to run away, I've got to get away. You don't really want any more from me tonight.
Modest visors. 2013 Camaros also see a newly redesigned rear-view mirror with touch-sensitive OnStar controls, very reminiscent of a retro-futuristic styling. Overhead interior illumination, as well as your garage HomeLink. Now, as far as the nav system, it's quite simple to use. All of the buttons on the left and right are touch and correspond to your navigation, repeating commands, seek, changing the source, as well as your hands-free Bluetooth telephone. This that you're looking at right now is the main radio screen where you can favorite stations. Click on your favorite stations down below. Change the source between internet radio, USB, iPod, auxiliary integration. Now if we hit the home folder, it'll bring up your main menu here where you have different pages of apps that you can custom place on any page that you'd like. These are all of your main functions here in a similar fashion that you see on the buttons on the outside of the screen. Just for example, you can put your tone on that screen, which I did a second ago. And then you have your other media options, real-time weather updates, etc. We'll go through all of that in its appropriate part. Navigation. Beautiful, full screen. Bring up the different menus, as well as dual wield your navigation and radio data. All of it will show up in the top screen here also if you want to, or just hide it. Your destination entry, points of interest. Look up by telephone number, you have your contacts, address book, save and favorite locations, and more. Your hands-free Bluetooth telephone. Change the different radio modes like before, and your internet radio. Different media options and hands-free Bluetooth streaming of audio. System configurations, tone, display, navigation. Destination input like you saw earlier. Real-time weather updates. Look up area movie theaters. Local fuel prices. You can also load up pictures on the system to create custom wallpapers or just store them on the hard drive. And one of the unique nuances of the XM satellite radio is you always have some sort of artwork behind, usually kind of related to the genre of the radio station that you're on currently. Coming down the floating center console, you have your simple to use climate control, your fan speed, temperature adjustments, different zones, 2-stage heated seats for the driver and passenger, as well as recycling and front and rear defrost. The optional Rally Sport gauge pack located down below with your oil pressure, temperature, voltometer, as well as your boost pressure for the supercharger. And in the center console, next to your 12-volt power outlet, you have your different driver selectable modes, touring, sport, as well as your traction control. Now if you hit the traction control button twice, it'll bring up StabiliTrak competitive mode, which pretty much eliminates all the electronic assists for the vehicle to give you the most raw power and give the driver in complete control of what the vehicle does on the track. And for manually equipped cars, you can also activate the vehicle's integral launch control system while in StabiliTrak competitive mode. All you have to do is depress the clutch all the way to the floor, then press the accelerator all to the floor. The vehicle will rev at a predetermined RPM, and then you let go of the clutch and launch. It's as simple as that. 2 cup holders, stitched center console, with your USB input, auxiliary, and another 12-volt power outlet. Off to the right of the steering wheel, you have your controls for your heads-up display. That's beamed up onto the dash. Control the height, brightness, and the information displayed. And a G-force meter. As far as the multifunction steering wheel, your radio controls and hands-free voice commands and telephone are off to the right.
Please say a command.
Help.
What do you need help with? Please say radio, phone, my media, navigation or settings. For OnStar speech commands, say OnStar. For help with other commands, say other commands. If you need to exit this session, say goodbye.
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 Your cruise control off to the left, as well as a driver information system built into the turn signal stalk that shows up in the middle of the speedometer cluster. And if you didn't already notice, the gauge cluster was updated in 2012 to give a little bit more of a modern feel, I guess, rather than the retro dished out style. Vehicle information. Twist the stalk to go between your different diagnostic settings. Performance, lap timer, coolant. You can also set up launch control, and your trip and fuel information. Alrighty. An amazing vehicle. And we'll hop in the back seat on the other side, but just to give you a quick look at it with the top up. And we're going to check out the rest of the vehicle, shall we? far as trunk space, it hasn't changed since the 2010 Camaro and measures about 10.2 cubic feet. The limiting factor though is the opening, therefore it's just enough room for groceries or a few bags but isn't able to carry really large items. For day-to-day use, it's perfectly adequate. The passenger seat also features the same power adjustments that you find on the driver's seat. Then grab the handle on the back of the seat and flip up. It'll automatically lock in place. As far as legroom, taller passengers may be a little bit tight in the back of the Camaro, but obviously, with the top down, is no limit on headspace or anything like that. The seats themselves are pretty soft, got a nice amount of padding to them, with some side bolstering that kind of hug you in a little bit more to make it feel more like a bucket seat. Little armrests on each side, your rear speakers. And getting out is a cinch. It's got a pretty reasonably sized glove box. The Camaro ZL1 is a legend in itself. Not only does it perform like no other Camaro before it, it also handles like no other Camaro before it. An awesome example of American automotive engineering. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this detailed look at the 2013 Chevy Camaro ZL1 convertible. Be sure to stay tuned next time. There's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.